Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron. It is Tuesday, another historic day for Everton Football Club. Of course, Saturday was a fantastic and historic night as Everton beat Liverpool at Anfield for the first time in 22 years. And today is another unbelievably historic day for Everton Football Club as Liverpool City Council have approved the planning application for Everton's new stadium at Bramley-Moore Docks. A detailed planning application for the new 52,888 capacity stadium at Bramley-Moore Docks has been approved by Liverpool City Council. They are currently hearing the plans for the Goodison Park regeneration and the L4 project and all of that good stuff, so we'll have information on that as soon as it breaks. But absolutely unbelievable news that our new stadium at Bramley-Moore Docks has been granted planning permission unanimously, by the way, a unanimous decision by every councillor in the room, or on the Zoom call, should we say, in the virtual room, that approved the plans. There were some absolutely unbelievable takes. There were some absolutely unbelievable statements from a couple of councillors regarding the stadium plans and, you know, what it'll mean to the city and how big it is to the city. None other than Councillor Joe Hansen, who's actually a Liverpool fan, and I'm not saying that as to state, you know, oh, he's a Liverpool fan, that means he wouldn't have wanted it to go ahead. But what I'm saying is it is capable for people to put their, you know, their clubs aside and put their, you know, support and who they support aside and focus just purely on the positives and how big this project is for the city of Liverpool. And Joe Hansen produced an absolutely unbelievable statement. That man deserves a fantastic and a massive round of applause. He really, really does, because he sat there and he addressed all of the issues that historic England had with Bramley-Moore. He sat there and he said, look, what historic England are practically doing, you know, is they're you know, giving their objections because of the wall surrounding the docks and the historic element of the docks. He said, well, that wall was built during the slave labour times, and that wall represents a very dark past of not just the city but the country, you know, in itself. So why should we be celebrating that? He also went on to say about historic buildings, and a couple of councillors talked about the fact that, you know, leaving historic buildings to just, you know, basically become derelict and fade away and become, you know, non-usable isn't, you know, preserving their status. If anything, it's making it a lot worse, whereas building on, you know, those buildings and making sure that we can continue to work through them and we continue to, you know, bring in revenue to the city and bring in eyes and people to the city. That is what preserving the historical elements of Liverpool as a city is. And like I said, Joe Hansen specifically, along with you know, a couple of the other councillors who spoke today, really do deserve a lot of credit, because they stood up for Liverpool as a city today, regardless of your affiliation with whichever football club. Joe Hansen stood up and he supported the city of Liverpool, and he supported the people of Liverpool and the amount of revenue and the amount of people and the jobs that this new stadium will bring to us as a city. So absolutely, like I said, I'll applaud that man until the cows come home, because I think he's done an absolutely fantastic job. And that, along with a couple of other statements from various other councillors, have unanimously agreed to allow the stadium project to go ahead, which is absolutely unbelievable news. Like I said, the Goodison Park plans are being heard currently, so we'll get all of the latest updates as they are coming in. We will get into the live comments as well. There has just also been a little bit of breaking news surrounding Max Aarons and the potential of Max Aarons joining Everton Football Club. Fabrizio Romano, who of course is a fantastic journalist, a very reliable journalist, has said that Everton are interested in bringing the young Norwich right back into the football club. He said that Everton are interested in bringing in a right back this summer, and Max Aarons is on the list. He did also say that Bayern Munich, I think Man United and a couple of other clubs are after him as well. So again, that's just early stages, but that's one for another day anyway. Transfer news is one for another day. The big news of today is, of course, the fact that Liverpool City Council have granted planning permission for Everton's new stadium at Bramley-Moore Docks. It was a very emotional meeting, to be perfectly honest with you. I sat there and I watched the first bit of the meeting, and then I had to go and do a couple of bits, and then I watched the last sort of 15-20 minutes of the meeting, where they were, you know, they done the vote and they were talking about, you know, any objections. They spoke about transport. They literally covered every base. And I want to say, you know, a couple of congratulations really, and a couple of well dones. Congratulations and well done to Everton Football Club for putting together such a extensive, unbelievably fantastic presentation to cover every single nut and cranny and bit and bob that could be brought up in this meeting, from transport to safety of fans given the stadiums on the docks, to of course when the stadium will be used outside of footballing times, the regeneration of the area, the dock wall, everything. Congratulations to Everton Football Club for over the last 3 years putting together a report and a presentation that left no question unanswered, that didn't leave any room for any interpretation. They covered everything. As well, of course, as like I said, the councillors, Joe Hansen, along with Steve Radford, I believe it was, and multiple other councillors who stood up for the city of Liverpool and stood up against, some company, aka Historic England's objections to, a potential new stadium due to the upkeep of historic buildings and stuff like that. Like I said, there was, I think Joe Hansen and Steve Radford, as well as a couple of other councillors, stood up and said leaving historic buildings to just become derelict and fade away isn't upkeeping historic buildings. It's basically allowing them to just fade away and die, whereas continuing to build on them and continuing to make sure that there's profit going through and that it's sustainable. That's how you upkeep a city. And like I said, it's absolutely excellent news. The planning application will have to be presented to the Secretary of State because it is such a massive project, of course, a new stadium and a complete regeneration of an area. So this is a massive step. Like I said, within the space of 2 or 3 days, we've had 2 unbelievably historic days in the history of Everton Football Club, and like I said, I haven't quite got over Saturday, to be honest with you, so I'm still a little bit of an emotional wreck. I nearly shed a tear just listening to the presentation and listening to how they spoke about Everton and the fantastic job that Everton have done and how unbelievable the stadium is going to look. It did nearly bring a tear to my eye because I'm still not over the fact that 2 days ago we went and done something that we haven't managed to do in 22 years and and beat them lot in their background. So a historic day on Saturday and another historic day today. We will get in the live comments in a moment, by the way. If you're enjoying, leave a like. But like I said, due to the size of the project and the planning, etc., it will have to be presented to the Secretary of State, who will, of course, determine that. But as it's been approved by the council and the council's plans, I'm not too clued up on the bits and bobs of how the Secretary of State will look at things. But I assume that because, like I said, because of the fact that it's been granted permission by Liverpool City Council, that it won't be too big of an issue for the Secretary of State. Steve Radford is now talking about the Goodison legacy plans. He has said that I think the fact that Everton are planning for what I will broadly describe as east-west road access, I think is incredibly helpful. Steve Radford's been absolutely fantastic in terms of the stadium and the planning permission, etc. He says he praised Everton for not giving a quick book sale for big business as well, which is again great to hear. And he also said that it's development with foresight, of course, which is absolutely fantastic. I don't want to leave anything sort of unanswered here. I don't want to, miss any bits of information. So I'm going to go on one of the live blogs regarding the stadium. We're going to go through a little bit of that as well. Hopefully my computer doesn't have too much of an issue with loading up multiple different pages at once. It probably will have too much of an issue, but I can't really help it, to be honest with you. If you're enjoying, by the way, please do hit that like button. It does mean a massive amount to me. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. Steve Radford said he likes what he sees and describes this development with foresight, like we just said. He is pleased that Everton initially asking for outline planning permission for its Goodison legacy plans because it will provide flexibility moving forward. Everton say it is crucially important to leave it's crucially important to them to leave something at Goodison that benefits the L4 community. This is outlined permission at the moment. They have a range of ideas for the project. So I think that practically means that we're currently looking for permission for something to be for us to be able to build something and leave something for the L4 community. And then, of course, there'll be more specifics on that in the coming sort of weeks and months. Unbelievable, like I said, absolutely unbelievable. It was a unanimous vote. Every single member of the committee voted to approve the overall plans for Everton's new stadium at Bramley-Moore docks. Of course, that isn't the final hurdle, as the plans could still be reviewed by the government, but it's a massive moment for the club and its fans. So like I said, it's massive. It will have to go, I believe, to the Secretary of State. It will have to be reviewed by a couple of other people before a spade can be in the ground. But Liverpool City Council's planning permission was the sort of big this was the big meeting that we were looking at. This was the big meeting we were looking forward to. And like I said, I don't know if anybody else is feeling like this. Maybe Saturday is still, just getting too much of, ahead of me. Maybe Saturday is still sort of working on me. But I feel so emotional to be an Evertonian right now. And you're probably thinking, Cam, don't be stupid. Grow up, lad. It's a new stadium. It's great. Yeah. But you don't have to be that emotional. But just considering where we were, a few years back when the Kirby project was brought up, or Walton Hall Park project was brought up, and even let's look back to when Farhad Moshiri first joined Everton Football Club. I've just seen a tweet then that said, Everton have gone from Farhad Moshiri joining and us, bringing in managers that weren't up for the job, and then bringing in players that weren't really committed or weren't really interested in the club, and the stadium was still up in the air, to now, 6 or 7 years on, we've got a genuine world-class manager in Carlo Ancelotti. And when I say world-class, I don't mean world-class as in, oh yeah, he's won a couple of trophies. This man is one of the best managers, if not the best manager, to ever walk the earth and to ever manage in football. He is at the realm managing Everton Football Club. We've just beaten a Liverpool side who, forget the fact that it's Liverpool or it's a derby. We've just beaten a Liverpool side who we haven't beaten in 22 years at that ground. We can talk all we like about the fact that over those 22 years we've had Everton teams that haven't been as good as the Liverpool teams they've come up against, or the Everton teams that maybe haven't had the luck. But let's be perfectly honest, the reason is what we went 22 years without winning at that ground was because 99% of the time we turned up there season in, season out. We'd lost before the first whistle was blown. The mentality wasn't there. We turned up and we didn't have a belief that we could beat them. We didn't have a plan to beat them. We didn't have a thought that we could beat them. It was almost like we'd turn up and we'd just think, let's just see what happens over the next sort of 2 hours or so, an hour and a half or so. Let's just see where we go, but don't expect anything. Whereas this time we turned up with Carlo Ancelotti, one of the best managers ever to manage in football, managing Everton Football Club, and we turned up with a plan, with a style of play, and we beat them comfortably at their own ground. Fast forward a couple of days later, like I said, I'm still elated over the derby win. A couple of days later, and Liverpool City Council have approved planning permission for our new stadium at Bramley-Moore Docks. It's massive. Daniel says after years of going backwards, we are now moving forwards. Exactly, mate. Let's get into the live comments then, see what everybody has to say. Massive thanks to everybody for joining us live. If you are enjoying it, please do hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new as well. Terry McAllister's in the live comments. Is right, Terry. Thanks for joining, mate. He said one more step before the spade goes in the ground up the fucking toffees. Exactly. It is worth noting. I don't want to get anything. I don't want to get people confused. I don't want to give any misinformation. This isn't the final step. This isn't, the point now where you can drive down to Bramley-Moore Dock tomorrow afternoon and there'll be builders there. They might be builders there bringing bits and bobs, I don't know, but it's not, my point is, it's not the final step in terms of everything going ahead and now we can start building on it. There is still a couple of people, like I said, I think it's got to go to the Secretary of State to be approved, and maybe various other people that have to have a say on it, but this is absolutely massive. And with the council of the city, Liverpool City Council, approving it, and the council is approving it, and like I said, it was mentioned a number of times on that meeting that if there is any sort of negatives, or that if there is any objections, they are highly outweighed by the positives and by the revenue that it will bring to the city, the amount of people it's going to bring to the city, the improvements of the general area. Any negative from historic England or anybody, it's just been completely, any negativity. Historic England have just basically come out with a load of crap about the dock wall and this, that and the other, and the councillors in Liverpool City Council, as well as, like I said, including Joe Hansen, who was absolutely unbelievable on that meeting today, Steve Radford included as well, have practically just seen historic England there. They've just gone up and they've just done a Ben Godfrey style slide tackle and just sent them right back to wherever they are. I think even Joe Hansen said at one point nobody even knows where historic England are based. Nobody knows where they are. They don't live in this city. They don't know the people of this city. They don't know how much this means for this city. So they can, but he didn't say this, but practically they can just go and do one. And Liverpool City Council and the councillors there have just gone in with a Ben Godfrey style slide tackle to all of the critics and gone, this is what this means to us as a city, this is what this means to us as a community. And like I said, it's difficult to talk without getting emotional. It really, really is, because I've seen 22 years of my life. For the large majority of those 22 years, barring the odd season here and there, and by the odd season I mean the season in which we finished 4th with David Moyes, the season in which we finished 5th with Roberto Martinez, barring the odd season, for the most of my 22 years of existence on this planet, and I've always going to be an Evertonian. My blood is blue. There was never, ever, ever, ever any other option as to become an Evertonian. I've told my Everton story before. I've had my dad on the channel talking about his Everton story. The only option for me was to be a Blue. And through those 22 years of becoming a Blue, and the 3 years of making this YouTube channel, for large parts of that, I've just seen mediocrity from Everton Football Club. I've seen mid-table finishes. I haven't seen an awful lot of ambition in regards to a new stadium. Managers haven't massively been ambitious. They've either been, projects, or, and I know this is a project with Carlo, but I'm talking about, risks, and okay, we'll bring in a young manager and see if they're the next big thing, etc, etc. We haven't really, we've brought in players who have been great servants of the football club, but haven't been good enough to take us to that next level. Fast forward 22 years on, we've brought in a genuine winner, a man who comes with a winning mentality. We're bringing in players with winning mentalities. I was having a little socially distanced walk around the park with my friends yesterday, and we talked about James Rodriguez and how he's been everywhere and he's won everything, and it's exceptional to have a player like him at the football club. And he was playing Call of Duty yesterday, just absolutely couldn't give a care in the world. Not like he just played the pass of the season against Liverpool at Anfield to win us the game. He didn't look like, he just looked like that was his daily business. But we know how big somebody like a James Rodriguez is. We know how big somebody like an Alan is. But we brought in players like Ben Godfrey. Look at if you haven't seen the video of Ben Godfrey after the derby on Saturday, go and watch it. He's screaming as if he's been an Evertonian all his life. All his life. That lad's been here for 6 months, and that derby victory meant it to him exactly the same as what it meant to every single one of us. We're bringing in winners, winning mentality, players that don't give up, players that don't fold over, players that continue going. Even the players that were here prior to Carlo, Seamus Coleman, Tom Davies, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison, all have stepped up to that level of Luca Dean, Yerry Mina, Michael Keane. I could go on for days and days. All have stepped up to that level of, right, this fella's a winner here. We can't turn up defeated in games. We can't turn up to Anfield and think, oh, it's Anfield, we don't do well here. We have to turn up thinking we're winning today. And like I said, after 22 years of just Everton finishing mid-table and being, we might finish 8th this season, we might finish 6th and it'll be a good season, we might finish 10th and it'll be a bad season, having some brilliant results and turning up the next week and performing poorly and pretty much guaranteed a derby defeat every year. It got to the point where a couple of years ago, I think I said on this channel on one of the videos, just don't even bother playing the derby, just give them 6 points at the start of the season, because that's exactly how it ends up. That's exactly what it how it ends up at the end of every season. Ultimately they just we just give them wins. So like I said, to go from all of that and that mediocrity and that just again frustration to a team that are winning, and a team that have got a winning mentality and are focused solely on winning, and then obviously a new stadium on the horizon as well, which is being granted today, is just absolutely exceptional. Multipaper says, hi mate. Carl says, finally, Liverpool fans can't say we announced it just after defeat. Well, yeah, it's been an unbelievable week for Everton, an absolutely unbelievable week so far, and we've still got some other bits and bobs that could happen. Carlo promised a Luca Dean new contract last week, so let's see where that one goes. But yeah, if Luca Dean's contract gets announced, I don't know if I'll be able to cope, mate. I honestly don't know if I'll be able to cope. I might have to. Does anyone want to come in and do a live team? Because I honestly think I'll just have to go to bed, because the emotion is just, oh mate, it's it's unbelievable. Multipaper says, how are you? I'm good, mate. I'm good. I'm very emotional, but I'm good. Eddie says, hi. Philip says, what a few days in our history. Yes, up to toffees is right, Philip. Daniel says, hi, Cam. Hi, Daniel. Everton Botches says, Everton are looking for a new right back. Max Adams and Silic on the list. Damien says, right, Cam, what a few days it's been for Everton. Finally beating them at home, and now the stadium has been approved. Brilliant. Can't wait for it now. We'll miss the old lady. Like I said, if this emotion and this feeling in my body, and I'm sure everybody's feeling it. Hernandez says, what a huge week for the club. Exactly. If this shows us and means anything, and it does. It means everything to us as a fan base, of course. I'm probably gonna go out in about an hour or so on my bike. Nice little bike ride. I think the weather's all right today. You know what? The Everton are boss. We're boss. We're getting a new stadium. We've beat Liverpool at Anfield. I'm checking the weather. It's gonna rain. I'm not bothered. I'm going out on the bike in about an hour or so, and I'm gonna drive past Goodison. And I said it the other day. The stadium news is unbelievable, and the stadium, obviously it being granted planning permission today is fantastic, and I absolutely, I absolutely love it, of course. But my priority at the moment is getting back into Goodison Park. I think it's been a year. To be honest, if it hasn't been a year now, it'll be a year very, very soon since I sat in the park end and watched Carlo Ancelotti's Everton team. In fact, the last Everton game I went to was that Manchester United game where Dominic Calvert-Lewin had his goal disallowed. So my priority at the moment is getting back into Goodison Park. Obviously, we had the news from the government yesterday is to state that from the 17th of May, 10,000 fans or up to 10,000 fans will be allowed in footballing stadiums as part of the roadmap out of lockdown. The biggest devastation about that news is our final home game of the season is on the 15th of May, so we just miss out by 2 days. Our last game of the season, I think, is the week after the 17th, but it's against Man City away from home. So, like I said, well, Tom says 1st of March, the last game I went to, so it's been over a year since I've been at Goodison Park. So yeah, unbelievable news regarding fans returning back to stadiums, of course. Fantastic to see that there's an end to this lockdown, not just footballing terms, but general terms, and with everything opening back up, and shops and pubs and restaurants, etc. It's been a very, very dark time for everybody. It's been a very tough time for everybody. So it's brilliant that there's now an end, that there's now a light at the end of the tunnel. There's now a goal for us all to aim towards and aim at. But yeah, like I said, for me, next season, being back at Goodison Park, that's my priority. But in terms of the future of the football club, the long-term future, the plan, this is unbelievable news. Carl says Max Adams is quality. Damien says also Machiri has confirmed that he will be back. He will back Carlo this summer in his spending to get new players in and see Max Adams coming in. And Lewis says up the toffees. He's right. We will get back into the comments in a moment. If you're enjoying, by the way, please do hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe, share the video, like the video. This live stream is, of course, being brought to you by Football News 365. You can check out the app via the link in the description. An unbelievable footballing app. You can download it. You get all of your latest Everton news, scores, tables. Just go and download it and basically sit there like I've done for the last few days and look at that derby score, because it never gets old, mate. It never gets old. Like I said, fantastic Everton news, keeps it up to date. Ran by a Blue as well, and a Tammy, a fan, but he's sound as well. So go and support another Blue. It'll support me, it'll support the channel, and it'll also support Dan, who runs the app as well. It's a fantastic app. The link's in the description. You can check it out. You can download it. It's free, etc., etc. Apple, iOS, Apple, Android, all of that sort of good stuff. Well, anyway, let's get back into the stadium talk. Got a little bit emotional there, obviously. It's me. I always get emotional. There you go. Liverpool City Council have approved the legacy plans for Goodison Park. It is another unanimous vote for Everton today. All members of the planning committee have backed the club's plans for a legacy project at their current Goodison Park home. The permission will rely on, the permission will be reliant on agreements, legal agreements being agreed. Councillor Hansen, who of course we mentioned before, Joe Hansen, absolutely top fella, knows exactly what it means to be a Scouser, knows exactly what it means to the people of this city for the planning permission to go ahead. He has said that he has vowed a lot of people with his speech in the earlier application, and he is speaking well again. He says a lot of developers in this city could learn a lot from the process you have gone through talking to Everton. He praises the work that Everton in the community do. He says the work is incredible and something the club is rightly proud of. He says it's reflected in what the club want to do with L4, which is an exciting project. This is a responsible organisation working in a responsible manner. Absolutely unbelievable. A club representative at the meeting has said that Everton is not committed to abandoning the people of L4, and says that, like the stadium plans, the proposals for Goodison represent a huge opportunity for North Liverpool, which is absolutely unbelievable. He also says that, answering a question from John Prince about the future of the historic Bullens Road stand and whether it could be maintained, club's officials say they are looking to reclaim as much as they can from the Bullens Road and the Gladys Street, which is absolutely unbelievable. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to get the latest roundup on my phone, just so we don't have any sort of any issues with the stream lagging and stuff like that. Where are we up to then? Massive thanks, over 70 people watching. Massive thanks for watching. Really do appreciate it. If you could leave a like, it would mean an absolutely exceptional deal to me, of course. Steve Radford has said he likes what he sees and describes it as a development of force. I think I've mentioned that one before. There we go. We just mentioned that one. No-brainer. For Bramley-Moore Docks Stadium. For anyone seriously about regeneration in North Liverpool, this was a no-brainer. This was from Henry Murishon, who is the director of the Northern Powerhouse Partnership. He has also said, given the green light to major shovel-ready infrastructure projects such as this will be key to spearheading a recovery here in the north. Bramley-Moore Dock will create thousands of jobs, unlock billions in economic growth for local communities, and open up the city further to the rest of the world. This is a project which will help put the city of Liverpool in the economic Premier League it deserves to be in post-crisis. Unbelievable words there, absolutely unbelievable words. Everton have always been clear that they want to have a legacy behind them in L4 that will benefit the community. Clubs say that they want the plans to tackle social issues in an area with high levels of deprivation. This will improve new family housing for local residents, a youth enterprise zone, an educational zone, as well as health, retail and leisure facilities. I'm getting all of this information, by the way, from the little timeline on the Liverpool Echo, so you can freely go and have a little look at it as well after the live stream, and keep yourself up to date with anything that we might have missed. Like I said, unbelievable stuff regarding the stadium. Councillor Tricia O'Brien moves that the plans must be approved subject to plans not being called in by the Secretary of State. So like I said, it does have to go to the Secretary of State for their opinion. The vote is unanimous. Unbelievable. Councillor Radford says that leaving the historic sites mothballed is not good for the heritage of the city. That's what I was talking about before. Councillor Radford, Steve Radford, has come out and said that the idea of just leaving historic sites and leaving unbelievably historic buildings to just rot and become, not used and just absolutely left to rot isn't, preserving them. It isn't keeping them as a historic site. If anything, it's doing worse. He said that leaving historic sites mothballed is not good for the heritage of the city. He sees that restoring heritage features like the hydraulic tower and making them part of plans is how you bring heritage back to life. The heritage harm would be leaving a city derelict. It's the right thing to do for the city. Talking about the new stadium, of course. He also said, Steve Radford, that he has no affiliation as a football fan, but he thinks that is an overwhelming positive case. Here we go on to Joe Hansen, who I think deserves a lot of credit today. Really do. Again, a red councillor, but absolutely no affiliation brought into this meeting. He has put a really powerful speech about the city of Liverpool, the people of Liverpool, regeneration, how big this project is for Liverpool. He has spoken eloquently about his family's involvement with the docks, the history of the site, and how important it is to not let the docks get in the way of what stadium can bring to the city. He said it is vitally important that the committee approves the plans today. So there you go. He said that, it's his quote, he said, our docks are important, but they shouldn't stand in the way of progress. That is an absolutely unbelievable quote. Unbelievable quote from Joe Hansen. Our docks are important, but they shouldn't stand in the way of progress, and it's spot on, absolutely spot on there as well. Benefits outweigh the harm, which is what Peter Jones had said. He had recommended the plans as well. Councillor Kennedy asks him whether he believes a national planning inspector would agree with him, and Mr. Jones says that the council believes the benefits of the stadium represent an exceptional circumstance and so will outweigh the harm done in terms of heritage. So there you go. The next step, I believe, is the Secretary of State. They will look at the plans, so it's worth reminding everybody that even if the planning committee approved the stadium plans today, this was obviously written prior to the approval. That is not quite the end of the story in terms of planning permission. With applications of this size, the Secretary of State for Communities and Local Government will look at the scheme and decide whether he wants to call it in for an investigation by the Planning Inspectorate. There will be another hurdle to overcome. So there you go. It's not the end of the road in terms of planning permission by any stretch of the imagination, but what it is a massive step forward. And like I said, this was an unbelievable meeting today, because if Liverpool City Council didn't approve the application, if Liverpool City Council said, no, we're not happy with it, then that'll have been it. This wouldn't have gone any further. So it's not the end of the road, but it's a massive step forward for the football club, and it's a massive step forward for the city of Liverpool. Every single councillor councillor that stood up there and spoke so passionately about the city and about how important this stadium is for the city. And even those, I'm not going to sit here and be a biased blue and say, oh, the councillors that objected against it or had questions, they're wrong and they shouldn't be listened to. No, it's absolutely right that every councillor or every member of that meeting or anybody else had questions regarding the stadium, and that's why Everton Football Club and everybody involved in this project and everybody who had a say and had a part to play in that presentation is applauded. They've spent 3 years working on this and they deserve, I know they can't go on an all-inclusive holiday because of the lockdown and stuff, but they deserve as much time off as they absolutely want, because they have put together a presentation that has meant that there is no questions unanswered. There was no opportunity for somebody to say, well, what about the safety of fans, given the fact that it's on the docks? What about the safety of fans? They put out like I said, a presentation that meant that they could turn up and say, well, we've had to think about that. I think that they're looking at building a wall to ensure the safety of fans and making sure that there's no sort of worries with the river and obviously the fast flowing water, etc, etc. Every question that was put to them, be it about transport, be it about safety, be it about events outside of football, be it about the regeneration of the area, every single question had an answer to it. And that's because it's an extensive plan, and the presentation was put together unbelievably by Everton Football Club, and that's what makes you emotional. That's what makes you emotional, that when you listen to a presentation like that, and if you go back and watch the meeting, or if you watch the meeting live, you sit down and you hear what Everton have got to say, and the length of it, and the the how in depth it was, and every single basis that they covered. And you think, if this doesn't get accepted, we can't do any more as a football club. If it goes to the Secretary of State, and for whatever reason, and just my personal opinion again, I'm not a builder, I'm not somebody who I'm not somebody who does planning permission or puts spades in grounds or grants planning permission on historic areas. I'm not that. My job is to do business admin. I write a few emails, I do a bit of meeting minutes, and then sit here and talk about Everton on a live stream every couple of days. So that's not my job. So I've got no professional opinion as per se. But my opinion as a fan is that this will go ahead and that there'll be no issues with the Secretary of State. But if the Secretary of State does say no, for whatever reason he doesn't want it, we can't sit here and say, oh, typical Everton have thrown in again. Everton haven't done enough, Everton haven't done this, Everton haven't done that, it's Everton's fault. We can't do that. We simply cannot do that, because that presentation today, the fact that every question had an answer, shows that Everton Football Club have done absolutely everything they can to make this stadium happen, and to like I said, to make sure that everything is done in the right way for the people of the city, for the city itself, for the regeneration of derelict areas, to uphold historical, buildings and obviously fantastically heritage areas, to uphold them, but to also build on them to make sure that more money is coming into them. Because I completely agree with the councillors who turned around and said, look, if you can't sit there and say, oh, that's a heritage area, so we're just going to leave it to rot, nobody can ever build on it. That's not looking after a heritage area. That's completely ignoring it and saying we won't touch that ever again until the point it rots to the ground. And like I said, Everton have done absolutely everything they can to make this happen, and it's a fantastic stage in the regeneration of the city, and obviously it's a fantastic step forward for our unbelievable football club. And to be honest with you, I said it before, I'm just emotional, to be honest. I'm an emotional wreck at the moment, I really am. Tom, T-Logic, what's happening, Tom? Big up to Tom. He says, I'm pretty sure it will have plans to expand the stadium. Phil also has plans for safe standing, which would be massive plans for Everton fans, in my opinion. Exactly. Philip says, historic, don't give a fuck, do they? Tom also says, fantastic for Everton, but more importantly, it brings a massive boost to Liverpool city economy. Crazy to think Heritage had to block the stadium. These people aren't putting people of Liverpool first. Exactly, Tom. As that says, what's happening, mate? He says 69 on the watch long, only 21 likes, getting like and blue. So 46 likes now. If we could get it to 50 before we finish up, that would mean a great deal to me. If you are enjoying it, please do hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe, leave the video a like, etc, etc. But no, you're spot on, Tom. And, you said in your last statement there, these people aren't putting the people of Liverpool first. And that is exactly what Joe Hansen said. Again, I just want to completely reiterate this. No, none of those councillors had an affiliation with football clubs. Not one of those councillors sat down and went, I'm a Liverpool fan, so I don't really want this to go ahead. Joe Hansen come out I think, openly and said he was a Red, and spoke so passionately about why this project needs to happen, why this stadium needs to be built, and I've got so much respect for that man. If I ever see that man in a pub, I'll buy him a pint. In fact, I'll buy him his night's drinks, because I've got so much respect for that man to put the city of Liverpool first and to put the people of Liverpool. And he said in his statement that, you know, historic England aren't from Liverpool, they're not here, they're not seeing the city, they're not speaking to the people of the city, they haven't seen the years and years and years of work on the docks. He spoke extensively about his family being, you know, working on the docks, and his brothers going away to work, and the fact that the dock wall, or that, sorry, not the dock wall, that wall specifically that was being talked about was built during the slave labour times, and you know, are we proud of that? Should we be upkeeping that? He spoke so well about this city and the people of this city, and he did say that historic England don't understand that, they don't know that because they're not from here. Philip says safe standing would be awesome, Tom, can't wait for the opening game. Hazard says don't forget that you're going the quiz. I'll get back on the quiz in a minute, mate, I will. Philip says, are there plans to expand the capacity when it's needed? Yeah, well, I think part of Everton's presentation today spoke about season ticket holders and the capacity of Goodison Park currently, and I think they mentioned the fact that there is currently 17,000 people on the season ticket waiting list. Yeah, so they said 3 years, why we need to move. This was our presentation of why we need to move. 3 years, every Premier League game sold out, 31,500 season ticket members, 39,572 capacity, and 17,000 fans on the waiting list for a season ticket as well. So there you go. Again, you know, with the capacity of the stadium, I think, bear in mind, let me just double check it, with the capacity of the stadium being at, oh, my head's everywhere here, fellas. Let me get it up. Here we go. 52,888 seater. Of course, that'll have been taken into consideration the fact that there's 17,000 season ticket holders currently waiting. For the season ticket at Goodison. There is room to expand, I believe. I think originally they said it was up to 60. So yeah, obviously very, very exciting news. Like I said, I must stress, this isn't the final step. This isn't the final sort of everything to go ahead now. It still has to go to the Secretary of State. It still has to go to a couple of people. But it's a massive, massive step forward for the football club. Tom says, not a dry eye in sight when it's the final game at Goodison as well. Enjoy and savour every moment from now till the end of Goodison Park. Mate, honestly, that you're spot on there. You're absolutely spot on. Tom says, can raise to 62k, can't it? That was what the original... I think it was originally mentioned a couple of years ago when it was first put out. Tom, that's an unbelievable comment. Unbelievable. If anything, listen, we've seen some shite at Goodison Park over the years. Let's be perfectly honest. We've seen some awful performances. We've seen some awful teams. We've seen some awful results. But if this past year and this meeting today has shown us anything, it's that we haven't been at Goodison Park as a 40,000 Evertonian fan base for over a year now. Okay, we had the Chelsea game and the Arsenal game where, you know, you had 2,000 fans and, you know, that was excellent. But we haven't been there as a fan base, as a 40,000 Evertonians at Goodison for over a year now, well over a year. And now we're looking at a massive, massive, massive step forward in terms of a new stadium for the football club within the next few years or so. So Tom is spot on. Every single time you visit Goodison Park now to watch Everton Football Club, every single time you sit in your usual seat or you sit in a different seat if you're maybe not a season ticket holder, savour every single moment. Even if we get battered 6-0 by fucking Brighton, even if we get beat 4-0 by Man United, even if we're shite, take a moment after every game, you know, like I said, disconnect from what you've just watched on the pitch in the football and think, this is home. And it's not going to be home for much longer because hopefully, if it's all a go ahead by the Secretary of State, we will be moving into a new stadium on Bramley-Moore dock. But this Goodison Park is home and it always will be home. Even when we move into the new stadium, even when the legacy project that in L4 is put into place, Goodison Park will always be home. Savour every single moment. And that final game in Goodison Park, mate, you won't be able to move me. You won't. They'll probably need... I don't want to get myself into legal trouble here, but they'll probably need the army to come in to move me because I will not be moving out of my seat on that final day at Goodison Park. I won't. You'll have to unscrew the seat and carry me out of there, mate, because I ain't getting up. Seriously, I ain't getting up whatsoever. I just couldn't. I can't do it. I've spent my life there. I've shed tears there. I've shed joy there. pretty much my entire life is surrounded on Everton Football Club and that stadium in itself. It's 10 minutes away from my home. I walk past it, I drive past it, I cycle past it all the time. I'm used to going week in, week out. I haven't been for a year, which is hard enough. So yeah, savour every single moment. Couldn't agree more, Tom. Paul says, brilliant time to be a Blue top manager with potential in a new stadium on the horizon. After years of being in the doldrums, we all deserve it. Spot on, mate. As it says, 100% calm onwards and upwards. Underground says, massive will allow us to spend more in transfers. Big Nozzer says, it's the rebirth of the Mighty Blues. What a week. The only way is up is right. Tom says, the last game will be amazing and depressing. I don't even want to think about it, mate, to be honest. Heidick says, congratulations on winning the Merseyside Derby, lad, from Derby County. He is right, mate. Thank you very much for that. Onwards and upwards. Jam Hammers Rodriguez 1870 says, just trophies now. Tom says, start of a new era. Jab says, get like an Evertonians. Tom says, well done, Cam. Got a load of people in here buzzing news. Thank you very much, everyone. Cheers, everyone, for watching, by the way. 77 people currently in. Massive thanks. If you are enjoying it, please do hit that like button. Don't forget to check out the Football News 365 app in the description below as well. Fantastic app for all of your latest Everton news. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new as well. Kevin says, just approved that Goodison Legacy 2. Brilliant news, mate. Absolutely brilliant news. Paul says, top 7 and 2 in quarterfinals. We are finally on the up. 1st of March it was. That was the last time. Dean Contact would top it off, says Tom Marshall. Exactly. Will says, buzzing, great news. What a week to be a Blue. Exactly, mate. Hazard says, are you okay? I'm all good, mate. Paul says, excellent news. Great time to be a Blue after years of struggling. We are heading in the right direction on and off the pitch. You're spot on. Everton now says, hi, Cam. So glad about the news. Just to make sure I'm coming on your channel tomorrow. Yeah, we'll get it sorted, mate. I'll drop you a message in a bit. Hernandez says, with all of the promise that the season is showing, I'm excited to see what magic plans can pull in the summer with the new stadium promise in the near future. Exactly, mate. Philip says, talking about emotion, this is honestly the most exciting period I've seen in our history in almost 50 years of following Everton. Cal says, what a week to be a toffee. Exactly, mate. Damien says, it's so good to be a Blue. It's good news for the Blues. Creeper says, who do we need to bring in the summer? Oh, that's a sort of conversation for another video, mate. That's a conversation for another video. John Morris says, this is brilliant for us. I miss the old lady, but the plans of the new stadium look amazing, and I'm sure as fans, we can make the new stadium a fortress and sound amazing every game. Let's hope so, mate. Damon says the SOS has 28 days. Secretary of State has 28 days to look over the plans and send their answer over, so we'll know within the next 28 days. Cheers, Damon, for that one. 1878, what's happening, mate? He says, yes, Cam, told you, lad, seen the mechanical drawings months ago. Boss, lad, all you read can do one stick your loft conversion up your arse. Brand new ground here, lads. Is right, mate, is right. Max says, when do we reckon it'll start? As soon as it's been given all of the ticks and approval from, the Secretary of State and anybody else that has to have a look at it. Talking a little bit about Max Adams there as well. Damon says also, Mercedes confirmed that he'll back Carlo. Yeah, hopefully, I'm sure he will. Thomas says, what a sad day leaving Goodison will be, mate. And Isaac says, Everton fan from the Philippines, keep up the great work. Let's go, Everton. Cheers, mate. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. But yeah, look, we're going to finish it up there. Then another historic day for Everton Football Club. Another very emotional day for Everton Football Club. Massive thanks again. Listen, it's 1 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon. I know you've all got better things to do. And there's 70 people currently watching us live stream. 62 likes. That's unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Talk about Everton and it being emotional, being an Evertonian. I'm emotional thinking that I can come on here and talk a little bit about Everton for an hour or so. And so many people get involved in the live comments. So many people comment in the YouTube comments. So many people like the video and get involved live. Honestly, the support is just unbelievable. It means so much to me. I'll never be able to thank you enough, everybody that watches the channel, whether you're new, whether you've been here from the start, whether you've only just subscribed. It means a massive amount to me, so thank you all so much. Up the Toffees, an unbelievably historic day for Everton Football Club. Again, only 2 days after an unbelievably historic day on Saturday, beating them lot at Anfield. Yeah, big thanks for watching. We will be back tomorrow with another live stream. I suppose we'll talk a lot more about the Goodison Park legacy and the stadium, as well as hopefully a couple of more topics. B Wood says the feeling of walking up the steps, seeing the royal blue seats followed by the glorious green grass, Goodison will forever be in our hearts, mate. I'm gonna have to go here because I will start crying. Tavel says, well done, Cam. Cheers, mate. Joe says, what streaming software do you use? I use OBS 26.1.1, 64-bit for Windows if you're interested. And Anders says 7 AM in the States. Fantastic work, Cameron. Cheers, and Anders, really appreciate that one, mate. Honestly, massive thank you for watching anyway. I'm off to go and get myself a cup of tea and get in the bath. maybe play a bit of FIFA. Big thanks. If you've enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you've enjoyed the stream, leave a like. Massive thanks to everybody in the live comments. Massive thanks to everybody watching as a YouTube video as well. Really do appreciate it. Yeah, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Leave a video a like if you enjoyed. Unbelievable news. Onwards and upwards as Evertonians. This is an unbelievable time to be a Blue. Ajox says, have a great day, Cam. Cheers, mate. You too. And yeah. Up Carlo Ancelotti's tricky toffees, walking into Bramley-Moore dock. Yeah. What a week to be an Evertonian. What a week. Massive thanks for watching. Leave a like if you've enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you soon.